Okay, so let's talk about that dream of owning a villa in Bali. You can probably picture it, right? Those lazy afternoons by the pool, maybe some nice rental income hitting your bank account. But here's the thing. To make it a profitable reality and not, a super costly mistake, you have to nail one big decision before you do anything else. So let's break down exactly what that is. The information we're diving into today comes from the Bali Villa Investment Blueprint, and its core message is really simple. You have to treat this as a commercial, strategic investment. The goal isn't just about finding a pretty holiday home, it's about securing a cash-flowing asset.
So if you're serious about this, if you actually want that villa to make you money, what's the very first major decision you have to make? I mean, before you even start looking at a single property. Well, that's the big question we're going to answer right now. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the fundamental choice every investor faces. Then, we're going to explore the two main paths you can take, the leasehold and the PMA. We'll get into the real costs involved, and then we'll wrap up by helping you figure out which structure is the right one for you. Every single foreign investor in Bali eventually comes to this exact crossroads. It's a big one. Do you go for a simple title agreement for the property itself, or do you set up a formal business entity to own and operate it? Your answer here really does change everything that comes next.
So these are your two main options. Think of it like a fork in the road. On one side, you have the leasehold. This is by far the most common route for a pretty straightforward single villa investment. On the other side, you've got the PMA, which is the professional structure for running a completely legal above-board rental business. All right, let's start with path number one, the leasehold. This is the route most foreign investors take, and honestly, it's mainly because it's the most straightforward way to get started. So how does a leasehold actually work? Well, you're not technically buying the land, you're leasing it, and the villa on it for a fixed period of time, usually about 25 years. Now, most leases will include an option to extend, but listen up, because here's the most critical detail. If the terms, and especially the price of that extension, are not locked into your very first contract, you are risking a massive price hike down the road. You have to get this right, but if you do, it's the simplest way to invest. Okay, now for the other path. If your goal isn't just to own a nice villa, but to legally and professionally earn rental income from it, then you really need to look at setting up what's called a PMA. This is the serious, professional business route.
So what is a PMA? It's basically a foreign investment company that's registered in Indonesia. It is the officially sanctioned, totally legal way for a foreigner to run a rental business. But the biggest advantage, by far, is that a PMA can hold a really powerful land title called an HGB, or right to build. This gives you legal control over that property for up to 80 years. That's a whole different level of security than a standard 25-year lease.
But, and this is a big but, that level of control and legitimacy, well, it comes with some pretty professional level requirements, and that means a significant financial commitment. So let's get into the actual numbers here. Under Indonesian law, if you want to set up a PMA, you need to have a minimum investment plan of 10 billion rupiah.
Now that's a huge number, right? To put it into perspective, that's roughly 950,000 Australian dollars. And honestly, seeing that number is often where people just stop and walk away. But wait, it's not what you think.
Okay, deep breath. This is the part that almost everybody gets wrong. That 10 billion rupiah is your investment commitment. It is not a pile of cash you have to deposit into a bank account. It's the total declared value of your entire project. The villa, the land, the furniture, your operating capital, all of it combined. Now, the law does require 25% of that commitment as paid-up capital. But in practice, this usually doesn't mean you're depositing hundreds of thousands in cash. Instead, that capital is often just represented by the value of the assets you're already buying, like the villa itself.
Beyond that big investment plan number, there are real cash costs to think about. You've got a one-time setup fee for all the notary and legal work, which is typically between $6,000 and $12,000. And then every single year, you have ongoing compliance costs for things like accounting, corporate admin, and tax reporting. This is just the cost of operating a professional business. And on top of those annual fees, you also have to pay taxes on your revenue, right? You're a legal business now, so you can generally expect to pay around 10 to 11% of your rental income in tax. Okay, so we have the simpler, more common leasehold on one hand, and the more complex but way more powerful PMA on the other. With all of that on the table, how do you actually decide which path is the right one for your investment?
Let's be real for a second. The honest truth is that many foreign investors look at the capital requirements, they see the ongoing paperwork of a PT-PMA, and they just opt for the simpler leasehold structure to avoid all the hassle.
But this is the question you really have to ask yourself. What is your goal here? Are you buying a lifestyle asset, a place for you to enjoy, maybe with some casual renting on the side, or are you trying to build a legally compliant, serious, revenue-generating business? Because if it's the latter, the PT-PMA is the correct and ultimately the most secure path forward. No matter which way you're leaning, these next steps are absolutely non-negotiable. First, you have to consult a licensed Indonesian lawyer or notary. Then, define your budget and your criteria. And finally, conduct thorough due diligence. That means full legal reviews of the land title and a complete structural inspection of the building itself. Do not ever, ever skip this. It really all comes down to this one simple idea from the source material. Success comes from discipline, due diligence, and professional setup. It doesn't matter if it's a simple leasehold or a full-blown PT-PMA, this is the key.
So, there you have it, the simple path and the professional path. Now that you know the framework, the costs, and the benefits of each one, the question for you is, which one truly aligns with your Bali investment dream?